and welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Tim Lofton, my co-host. Tim, how are you today?
Well, I'm doing great. I mean, how many times does somebody get to actually sit at the desk with a former Mrs. Ohio and Mrs. America? So, I mean, the honor is mine for sure.
Oh, Tim, thank you so much. Yes, obviously strong roots in Ohio. I love Ohio so much. Born and raised, one Mrs. America in 1996, but one Mrs. Ohio first in 1996. So thank you for bringing that up, Tim.
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I mean, it's exciting times, right? I mean, we definitely have some interesting things going on out there, don't we?
Most definitely, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because obviously, Tim, let's talk about inflation right now because everyone is tuning into the news. They're hearing stories about it. They're seeing it. I'm seeing it at the grocery store. Oranges are costing more. Strawberries, anything you can think of is costing more. But inflation has a ripple effect. What types of things are you hearing right now?
Well, it really does. I mean, if you think about it's not so much the inflation part as what they do to control inflation. And so, you know, the Fed right now, as people are well aware, has been raising interest rates. And so they're raising interest rates to try and slow down the economy. And that doesn't sound healthy, but it is healthy from controlling inflation standpoint.
Right.
But there is ripple effects to those choices. And if you think about it, if I slow down the economy, people are buying less stuff. If I'm buying less stuff, companies don't need as many employees to make and sell stuff. And so there was a Fortune article that people can look online. It just came out where 90% of the CEOs that were polled said that they are negative on the market right now. 40% of them said, hey, layoffs are imminent.
Right.
That's going to happen. And so, you know, one of the things for our viewers here in Dayton is don't let one mistake of what you're going to do with your nest egg turn into 3 or 4 bad mistakes.
Sure.
And so, you know, understanding where we are today and understanding not just your, you know, investments or your retirement plan, but also understanding your job, where your income's coming from, you know, making sure that the industry that you're in is an industry that is not as impacted. And if it is, having a plan B.
Wow.
We just met with a client just a couple weeks ago, and she had been in a certain industry for 35 years and just was let go. Because they basically are kind of going through some of these same growing pains. And, you know, I was talking to her about, you know, there's the obvious fear part of that and being afraid and what am I going to do? And, you know, I'm 61 years old and now I've got to go find another job. Or you can look at it as an opportunity. And that's the thing that she embraced was the opportunity that she now had to take her 30 plus years of experience, do the business that she knows for herself. And she's in an industry that is growing. She's in an industry that she could run her business with essentially a laptop and a cell phone.
Wow, okay.
And not have to only be getting a portion of what the clients are being billed, but she can keep all of it. And so, you know, one of the things that came out of our discussion was she's like, Tim, I would have never made this decision, even though it makes sense now, would have never made this decision on my own had I not been given that push. I said, well, I don't know that it was a push. It was more of a kick, but you know, the point is that she was able to look at and reassess and take a different perspective through sitting down with us and understanding that this isn't the end. This is, in her case, a beginning, and a beginning that could financially be significantly better for her than had she just kept doing what she was doing.
Well, Tim, I'm listening to you talk, and it seems to me like retirement is a lot more complicated than it was a couple of decades ago. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
Oh, for sure. I mean, retirement has changed significantly. If you look at my grandfather, he worked for Ashland Oil all his life. He put in his 35 years. He retired. He knew exactly how much income he was going to receive because of his pension. He knew he was going to get his Social Security. He had his nest egg. It was everything was done for him. He didn't really have to spend a lot of time planning. You had a simple will, everything was done, I's dotted, T's crossed, he got his checks in the mail, lived his life, had an amazing retirement. It's not that way today. You know, unless you work for, you know, a state or federal government or maybe the school system, pensions are rare. And so what's happened is now, as a employee, we're responsible for our own pension plan.
Right.
We're responsible for saving. And think about that, Cynthia.
Wow.
All the math was done for them before.
Absolutely.
I work, they put money in my pension plan, I get a check. Now, I have to decide how much money am I going to need in retirement in today's dollars. I have to look at what inflation impact that's going to have and figure out what that number is. Then I have to figure out how much income I'm going to actually need to generate in retirement from that future value number. I mean, have I lost you yet?
No, that sounds scary, though.
The calculations just keep piling up. And if you get any of those calculations wrong, or you forget, or you use the wrong inflation number or the wrong growth number, and that's not what happens, guess what? You don't retire. You continue to work. And we've had so many of those conversations. Even, you know, we work a lot with employees from Ohio State and some of the colleges in the state of Ohio. And we see this every day, where they're going to have a really good pension in this case, but it's not enough because their lifestyle is higher than what they saved for.
Oh my gosh, okay. Well, I know we're going to take a commercial break in just a minute, Tim, but I wanted to ask you, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you're seeing with people in retirement with savings, if you will?
Well, I think the biggest mistake is not knowing how much you're supposed to be saving.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest miss, is that, you know, somebody hasn't actually sat down. You remember the old ING commercial where people were carrying around their number, and
yes.
the tagline was "Know your number."
Yes.
That was a brilliant commercial because it was just on target.
Yeah.
You have to know your number, and that takes a lot of math, and it takes somebody to spend some time to understand where you're trying to get to be able to do that math for you.
Sure. That makes sense. Well, Tim, there's a very special offer that you're going to present to our viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we open the phone lines.
Today, we're offering a complimentary review. If you have questions about retirement, about the economy, about the way that things are today, listen, we get it. It is scary. It is. There is the times that we are in today feel so different than the last few years. If that's you, why don't you take this opportunity? It's a complimentary review. Let us take a look. Let us get to know you. Let us see if we can help you thrive in retirement.
Tim, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen. That number is 855-684-3485. Tim knows you have a lot of questions about how to plan your perfect retirement. He is offering you that complimentary consultation. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call in to 855-684-3485. When we come back from this very short commercial break, I'm going to talk to Tim a little bit about the retirement financial to-do list. Do you have one? Do you know what's on it? Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss his response.
We're passionate about making sure our clients live stress-free in retirement. We do that with the Retirement Blueprint. It's our trademark planning process designed to help you navigate to and through retirement. When you're nearing retirement, it's essential that you have a written plan and know exactly how that plan will work for you. Let us show you how 27 years of experience can make a difference in your plan.
And welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Lofton. Tim, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this, something I love this. It's called the Retirement Financial To-Do List. Let's talk about some things that should be on that. Does everyone have a to-do list with their retirement finances?
Well, I think that a lot of people know the basics.
Okay.
You know, most of the people that come into the office have a general idea of the basics of retirement.
Okay.
I want to talk about a couple that are non-financial.
Okay.
Because I think that is one of the areas where a lot of times people don't put a lot of thought in. They think about this end goal of, I'm going to retire in 30 years, and 30 years gets here, and they're like, all right, I've arrived, and now I'm supposed to retire, and that's it. And so they go from, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and going to the office and having all this responsibility and all these things. And, they've raised their kids and they've all this activity to not. And that time has to be filled. And so, one of the things that we talk to clients about is, building a bucket list, knowing what your retirement's going to look like before you actually pull the trigger.
I love that.
What are you going to do with your time?
Yeah.
How are you going to spend your days? What are your goals? What are the things that you want to accomplish? And there is nothing wrong with coming to the realization, and a lot of our clients have done this, of, I don't know that I'm ready to retire. Remember, our definition of retirement is going to work because you choose to, not because you have to. And so when you think about it in that context, there's nothing wrong with continuing to work. Maybe you have an opportunity for a career change. Maybe you have an opportunity to do something different. Maybe it's to volunteer, to be a part of, a charity organization, or get involved with your church, or, mentor. There's so many things that you can do that aren't necessarily directly tied to income. Some are, and they can be, and some people need that. But isn't it a great opportunity to have that planned out before you have to try and figure it out and you can't go to work anymore? Sure,
that makes perfect sense. Well, I should ask you a question. What are some of the questions that people should be asking themselves to determine if they have a plan that they're confident with?
Well, I think it starts with who did your plan. Is the person that did your plan, are they specialized in retirement planning, or were they just a wealth management person? When you looked at your estate plan, did you have an estate planning attorney draw that up, or did you go to a general practice attorney? When you think about tax planning, to you, does that just mean gathering your stuff up every January, February and taking it to your CPA to do taxes, or is somebody actually looking at your tax strategy in retirement, because that is one of your largest expenses when it comes to retirement, is taxes. And so there's more to the idea of retirement in tax world other than just getting my 1040 done every year.
I love you brought that up, Tim, because so often we hear that people assume their taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not necessarily the case.
Well, it's not. And if we do our job properly and the clients do their job properly, your income doesn't go down.
Okay.
The biggest misnomer out there is, when somebody comes in and says, well, I read somewhere that I could live on, 70% of my income. And my response is always like, well, what 30% of your spending is going to go away?
Yeah, what are you cutting out?
And there's no answer to that.
Yeah.
You're going to have more time to spend more money,
absolutely,
not less. And what other changes happen in retirement? Very rarely do a husband and wife sell a car and keep one car. They both want a car.
Of course.
Today, you're still buying clothes. It's different clothes. You're still eating. I mean, you have more time to travel. You have more time to go spend time with the grandkids. So we just don't see a big drop off in spending in retirement, and therefore, when we're doing that planning for income, we're shooting for 100%.
Tim, I should also ask you, what about investments, and if they're taking the appropriate amount of risk? Is that a question people should be asking?
For sure.
Okay.
In fact, that is a big question, because if you look at what we're going through right now, and everyone out there in Dayton is well aware of the craziness. We have rampant inflation. We have a stock market that's gone down significantly, a bond market that's gone down significantly. I can buy less with the money that I have because of inflation.
Yeah.
And so, understanding where you fit into that risk spectrum, because there's a couple different mistakes that get made there. One is I take no risk, I get no growth, and inflation is going to create a slow erosion to my purchasing power in retirement over time. The other one is I take too much risk and I lose a part of my nest egg, and I'm in the same boat, just in a more uncomfortable manner.
Right.
It happens quickly versus the slow erosion. But either one of those, if you're on one side of the risk spectrum or the other side of the risk spectrum, can have a significant impact on retirement. And remember, Cynthia, people don't run out of their money in their 60s and 70s.
Right.
They run out of money in their 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And so when you're putting together a plan, you have to look at the future growth of dollars, the future cost increase, factoring in inflation to make sure that people are on track to get to where they're going.
Another point I want to ask you, Tim, is the importance of obviously having a team who specializes in each area of retirement. How important is that overall?
Well, I think if you're looking for how do I get the best plan, when people come in and they say, Tim, what is the key? How do you make sure that you get the best out of your plan? It all starts with the team of people that you're working with. More importantly, that team is all communicating with each other. It's very rare that I have somebody come in my office and I will say to them, you know, I see that you have a CPA, I see that you had an estate planning attorney. Are they talking? And they're like, well, no, Tim, of course not. They don't even know each other. Like, well, is the estate planning attorney and the CPA talking to your wealth management team? Well, no. And so how can I have a really good plan if all the important pieces are not connected?
That's true.
It's like having my 5 puzzle pieces laying on a board versus those 5 puzzle pieces all being interlocked the way they're supposed to be.
Sure.
That's what forms the perfect picture.
Sure. So it can be very scary if someone is just trying to wing it on their own, especially in their retirement years.
And I was making the assumption, Cynthia, that they even have all the puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Because often they don't.
Let me ask you a question about how important is it to know that the money that they currently have in place will sustain them throughout all of retirement?
Well, I mean, is that not the #1 fear in our country for every retiree? I mean, they've been taking this poll for 50, 100 years. You know, the #1 fear for every retiree is running out of money. Well, how do you run out of money? You run out of money because of inflation, so purchasing power. You run out of money because of loss, market loss, and you run out of money in the event of a nursing home stay or something like that. And all of those you can plan around. All of those have solutions that, if you do the proper planning, can protect you from most of those situations.
Well, Tim, I know there's a very special offer that you're going to present to our viewers at home today. Let's take a little bit of time talking about what that is before we open up the phone lines.
Of course. So the Retirement Blueprint is not some book that we send you or some document that you can get online and look at. The Retirement Blueprint is built, it's custom to you, to your family, to your needs, to the things that you want to have happen in retirement and how you want things to go after you're gone. It looks at all of the different areas of retirement planning, including tax planning, retirement planning in the world of wealth management. It looks at Social Security maximization, pension maximization. Do I pick beneficiary interest in my pension, or do I just take as much as I can get? All of these questions and more we cover in our complimentary review. And that is what the Retirement Blueprint was designed for.
Tim, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, the number to call is on your screen. That number is 855-684-3485. We know that you have a lot of questions for Tim about how to plan your perfect retirement. He is offering you the opportunity to pick up the phone, call in today, schedule an appointment with him, and please come in, let him get to know you. What are your goals? What are your hopes? And what are your dreams for retirement? He'd like to design a plan for you. Remember, if you have a smartphone, you can also pick that up and click on the QR code in the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to Tim's landing page. Again, the number is 855-684-3485. We'll be right back after this very short commercial break.
Retirement is about choosing where you want to go and mapping out a plan to get there. That's why I created the Retirement Blueprint. Of course, things don't always go according to plan. Come learn how our team can help you avoid potential hazards and find alternate routes. We're here to do life with you and share your journey. Let us blueprint your life to keep you on track to make sure you get the most out of retirement. Are you on the road to success? Call us today for a complimentary review to find out. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
And welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Lofton. Tim, a great show we're having today, and you're talking about such important points, planning for retirement, and how important it is to have that good team in place. You don't want to wing it, and you don't want to do it on your own. So with that being said, let me ask you a very important question. We've talked in the past about people that have worked with, let's just say, a broker for so many years who specialize in the accumulation phase. Why is it important to transition into someone that works in the distribution years? How is that a benefit to retirees?
Well, it's apples and oranges, right?
Okay.
I mean, accumulation is just that. It's what all of us have done or are still doing, where we're having money taken out of our paycheck and it's going into our 401k plan and our IRAs and our investments, and we're saving and saving and saving, and we don't really worry so much about the market because it goes up and down and we're putting money in, and honestly, when it goes down, I'm getting a better deal on my money that's getting invested. And you know, that process is, 20, 30 plus years. Once I get to retirement, think about that from a retiree's point of view. So I've been saving for 30 years. I've been, being very intentional about taking money, putting it aside for retirement. And I've got a paycheck coming in, and all of that feels fairly comfortable. Now I wake up one day, I no longer go to work, I no longer get a paycheck, I'm no longer saving, and now you want me to take money out. It creates turmoil.
Absolutely.
It is a difficult thing to get your head wrapped around. I mean, anything that we've done for 30 years is hard to stop doing, right? Of
course.
And so when we look at the distribution phase of retirement, it is a completely different process. It's a completely different approach. It's a completely different way of doing things. And so doing what you did to get to where you are in retirement is not going to sustain you through retirement, most likely. And so making that shift and working with somebody, I mean, we've talked on the show before, about 95% of advisors are accumulation advisors.
Yeah.
They're there to help you grow, and we need them.
Sure.
Right? We have to have them. When you get to retirement, we're no longer accumulating, we're distributing.
Yeah.
And distributing is a different set of rules. It's a different set of approaches. It's a different thought process, and it is a different plan. And so as we're looking at the planning needs for someone entering retirement in that distribution phase, there's a whole different way of looking at things that can only be accomplished by sitting down and talking to somebody who specializes in that area.
Tim, thank you so much. We have a viewer question, and I want to get to this if that would be okay.
Sure.
It says, Tim, what should I be considering when it comes to taxes when transitioning into retirement? I love your show.
Oh, well, thank you, and great question. I mean, one of the biggest misnomers about retirement is the miss on taxes.
Okay.
The idea that, I've got my $1 million saved in my IRA and I have $1 million ready for retirement, and that's not true, right? If I take all of that out, I don't get $1 million. I get like 700,000.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that in terms of income, it's the same thing. If I have $1 million and I take out $40,000 a year to live on, I'm not getting $40,000 because I've lost $10,000 to $12,000 of that in taxes.
Absolutely.
And so if my plan was built on me getting $40,000 to spend, and now I only have $28,000 to spend, that is a completely different situation. And that is one that we see over and over and over again, where people are like, I never thought about the taxes.
Yeah.
And so what happens is they're still taking out the $40,000, but they're taking out really a true withdrawal of $55,000 or $60,000 and having the taxes withheld so they can get the $40,000. The problem there is they can't take that much money out of their account. It's too much. And so now I'm having a slow erosion of my principal,
right,
which again leads me down that path of their biggest fear, which is running out of money.
And Tim, this is another great question. I want to get to this actually before we close for today, but this is really important. It says, Tim, I was able to get an appointment with you to help plan my retirement. What can I expect when I come into the office?
Well, that gets asked every time, right? It's like, I don't know what to bring. We make it so easy, Cynthia. When somebody calls our number and sets up an appointment, they will immediately get an email with an appointment reminder, location to the office, directions to the office, and more importantly, what to bring.
I love that. And that way people know what to expect.
Then they know what to bring. And then all they have to do is bring that information to us. We do everything else. We have a process that we've honed over the last 30 years of discovery, of asking questions of you to make sure that we understand your answers, not just the general answers, but your specific answers to your family, your needs, your retirement, so that we can help craft a retirement blueprint custom made for you.
And I love this question too. This is another question regarding time. It says, Tim, can you help me understand how much time should I allot for my first appointment with you?
Mm-hmm. Typically, the first appointment's around an hour.
Okay.
Sometimes it's 45 minutes, sometimes it's an hour 10. It depends on, obviously, how many questions people have. But 60 minutes is what we put on the calendar.
So, Tim, every week we talk about this. The most important thing is having a plan in place for retirement. It's obviously not the same as going to the mailbox, pulling out those statements, and people think that's a plan. It's totally different. So we have about a minute and a half left of the show this week. Let's talk a little bit about what that special offer is that you want to present to our viewers at home before we say goodbye.
Well, our offer is this. We want an opportunity to meet you. We want an opportunity to help you navigate maybe the fear that you're feeling right now of opening up those statements and feeling like there's so much unsettled, unknown, just that feeling of what should I do? How am I going to navigate this? We want to take this opportunity to offer you a complimentary review where we can sit down and share with you our thoughts based on what you tell us is important to you and help you navigate this journey called retirement.
And Tim, I love that you give your clients the gift of listening, because so often we've heard that you always spend time with them and that they feel like you're really understanding what their problems and concerns are. So thank you for that. To our viewers at home, thank you specifically for spending time with us today. That number to call is 855-684-3485. We know that you have a lot of questions for Tim about how to plan your perfect retirement. You've worked your entire life to get to these golden years, and you want to have peace of mind knowing that you're in the right hands and the right care. Tim is offering you that complimentary consultation. All you have to do is call in today, 855-684-3485. Again, thank you for watching the Retirement Blueprint Show. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to seeing you back here again 1 week from today, and keep those questions coming.